Let's now look at the Layout tab of the design ribbon. So if I click on it, you'll see we've got a whole set of new options. First one to look at is this little drop down where if I click on it, you'll see it identifies every possible component of the chart. So for example, it says there's a chart area, which you can see. It's a chart title, which you can see. If I click on one of them, you'll see it activates that area. Now for the most part, you can anyway go onto the chart and right click or click and activate any particular area. The real benefit of this tool is occasionally, for example, one of the series may be so insignificant, so small, that you cannot actually find it on the chart. In that case, it's easier just to click on the drop down, find the one you're looking for, and click it. Once you have chosen the series that interests you, if you want to do something with it, you can either, as shown earlier, right click and maybe go Format Data Series, or else just click on the Format selection and the same toolbar will appear. If after you've made changes you're unhappy with them, it's easy enough to go here and say Reset to match style. It'll go back to what it was. The next section is the Insert section, and if you click on a graph, you'll see you have the ability to add a number of pictures, shapes, text box, etc. So for example, if I add a text box, I can go and perhaps put something onto the chart. So it just gives you the ability to add a couple of more components onto your chart. Just going back here. A very important section are these items, the labels items. And what you'll see is we have a number of labels here, but using these drop downs we can choose a whole bunch of different options. So if I go to the chart title and I click, you'll see that at the moment the chart is the label is above the chart. I can change it to be centered overlay title, for example. When I click on it, you'll see it moves it around. Or alternatively, I can go to none. At the bottom of each one of these, you've also got something called More Title Options. If I click on it, you'll see I can format the chart title in a number of different ways. That same toolbar can be accessed by simply clicking on the chart, right-clicking, and saying Format Chart Title. So these are two ways of doing the same thing. Looking at the axes titles, at the moment our axes don't have titles. If I click on it, I can decide to have a horizontal axis title, either none or maybe a title below the axes. If I click on it, you'll see I've got a space now for the axis title, and perhaps there I can now change that to eventually to date. Going back to the axis titles, you can see how it can have a vertical axis title as well, and it actually tells you what it's going to do. It's going to rotate the title, vertical title, horizontal. Again, whatever you choose, you can further customize it by clicking on the More options. The Legend button helps you with the legend. So at the moment it's shown at the right, but we can move it to the top. You'll see it moves here, maybe to the bottom. We can move it around, but be aware as well is you can in the graph click on it, change the cursor till it looks like that, and pretty much put the legend wherever you want to put it. I'm just going to put it back where it was. Similar with data labels, click on it. Various options exist. So you'll see at the moment the data labels are turned off. If I click center, what you'll see the data label does is it puts the actual number somewhere on the actual column in this case. I can have it inside. A variety of options exist here. I'm going to switch it back to none. You can also go to the data table. Now the data table, let's switch it on. What it does, it places the actual information under the graph. So not only do you see the visual display, but you have the numbers here. You can see there's a couple of options about the data table, and again a number of options exist for your customization. Okay, I'm just going to switch this off. The next batch of keys cover the axes. You'll see under axes, when I click on it, it's normally fairly self-explanatory. For the primary horizontal axis, we can have nothing. Click on it and you'll see it disappears. Or perhaps you want to show it left to right, which is what we had. Show the axes without labeling. So you can see there's a couple of options. You can maybe right to left. So you'll see now it's actually switched it around. Just go back to what it was. But basically through here you can quickly get to what you want to get to. You can do the same thing with the vertical and grid lines as well. How do you want it to appear? Do you want to see the major grid lines? Do you want minor grid lines? If I click on that, you see I get a lot more grid lines. Maybe I want to do both, so you can differentiate them. So all these options exist and you can access them from the ribbon. The next batch of buttons refer to the background. The plot area is over here. And you'll see there's a couple of options, either to have nothing or to use a default, which in this case actually is white. And again, you can go to more. There's a whole bunch of options which we'll explore later. Depending on the type of graph you've chosen, some of these may come into play. So if you have a 3D graph, you may be able to color the wall, the floor, the rotation, etc. Over here we have analysis, and you'll see one of the things we've got is something called a trend line. We will cover it later, but just a simple example, I'm going to say please add something called a linear trend line. When I click on it, added to your graph is a line which shows the best fit of these data points, and we will explain it a bit later. So I'll come here and you'll see there's a number of other options, but for now we're going to go back to none. You'll see as well, depending on what you've chosen, and we will explain it with the various graphs, there's a couple of more options available here, and in this case we've got something called error bars, which allows you just to put some standard errors in. So when I click on it, you'll see each point has got a high and low, basically implying that at the moment the point's there, but it could be anywhere in that band. Just going to go back here and switch that off. The last option in the layout ribbon is the properties, which just gives us the chart name.